Kanye. The Super Bowl thing was an absolute shit show. What the fuck's this guy's deal? Wife wears a naked dress, and then there's talks of a separation now.
And here she comes in her beautiful coat, and then all of a sudden he like whispers something at her and she drops the coat like a robot. Some media reported, that he said that he has, this is the quote, complete dominion over his wife. Dominion. The next day or two, it was like she's going to consult a divorce lawyer. And then a few days later, it's like, we're going to try to reconcile. And so, me, I'm like, are we trying to reconcile, or is he silencing her again? As a lawyer who represents women, I'm going like, who do we need to call to help you leave?
Shawn French, what up? This one luck, I let the pain inspire me. I put my all in everything I'm doing. Up until it's done, I'm me for the entirety. I put in overtime, I be working. Just know I'ma go for mine, cause I earned it. They watching, I know it's time. I confirmed it. A whole society determined society.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Determined Society. I'm your host, Shawn French. I have an amazing guest today, but first, please hit the button to follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. I have an amazing Texas attorney today, one of the top attorneys in the state of Texas. She's amazing. She's dynamic. She has a hell of a resume, and we're so blessed to have her today. Michelle O'Neill, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
I'm super excited. We had a lot of, good conversation over the weekend before, we recorded, and we had a fun kind of off the air conversation prior. So the juices are flowing here. We got the creative juices going right now.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk. What are we going to talk about? Let's do this.
Well, first, let's tell the audience a little bit that may not know who you are. Give them a little rundown of your background, where you're from, what you're doing, and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so I have been a lawyer for 30 plus years. We won't go into the plus part. And mostly I've done family law, but within family law, I tell everybody the thing I love about doing family law, or for those who are more refined, domestic relations law. For those of us from the streets or from the country where I'm from, we call it just family law. What I love about doing family law is that we actually touch on every single practice area there is in law. Like, you can't name a practice area that I probably haven't touched in 30 years. I've done criminal law within family law, which that's kind of obvious, but I've done a shareholder derivative rights lawsuit within a divorce. I tried a marital rape tort claim to a jury trial within a divorce. And most people don't understand that family law kind of has this all-encompassing thing, that anything that touches a family can happen inside of a divorce case. And maybe that's a whole nother episode. We can talk about that. But that's what I love about family law. And so it makes my experiences really diverse. And so I know a couple of the topics we're going to talk about today, you might think, what does that have to do with family law? But they actually do touch family law because, they have these intertwinings into the family or children or contract rights that can, come into the family law aspect. And they're actually things that I have dealt with in my practice. And, so I tell everybody that I learned everything about business and running a business, which I own my own business. We have 4 offices: Dallas, Frisco, Texas, Houston, Texas, and Fort Worth, Texas. And so we can handle family law matters all over the state of Texas. Only in the state of Texas, though, because we're not licensed anywhere else. But I learned everything about life from my mama. I learned everything about business from my daddy. So
there you go. Some good influences in your life. I'm actually going to be in Houston the end of this month.
Awesome. Well, that's a long way from you. I wish I'd known that. We might could make a plan. Maybe you should hop on up to Dallas, and I'll buy you a drink or a steak. Dallas is known for steaks.
I would love that. I would love that. It's for a wedding though, so I can't bolt. Got to be there.
Well, you could add on a day and just drop into Dallas,
for a steak and a drink.
You a good done. Dinner and a drink.
Absolutely, we could talk about that for sure. But no, family law is crazy. There's a lot of different things that can go on in family law, right? And I think the big thing that, always ties in if there's kids involved, property, assets. But dude, there's some interesting things going on right now in the news media.
Did you just call me dude?
Well, I mean, I'm from Cali, I'll dude you up,
I'll be a dude. I'll be a dude
right, cool,
today. It's better than being a hun.
No, that could be bad. That could be bad. A hun's bad.
It's all good. I'll answer to whatever.
Okay. Awesome. So Kanye, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff going on with him, right? The Super Bowl thing was an absolute shit show.
Oh my God.
What the fuck's this guy's deal?
Has he lost? I think whenever people are celebrities and they're so used to getting all of that attention, and then as what happens, this is what happens when you're in the limelight and you're the current flavor of the month, eventually that shit slides, right? And so then the attention of the media, the attention of the public, the lemmings, they go on to something else. Squirrel, bright light, we're going to look at somebody else, somebody younger, cuter, smarter, sweeter, better looking. And then you start to slide and you don't quite know what to do with that. And so you start, kind of pulling these stunts to try to get the limelight back on you. And I think for some of them, they start kind of losing their marbles a little bit. And maybe that's what's happened to Kanye. I don't know.
But I feel like that's happened like 5
times. Met him.
I feel like that's happened to him 5 times.
Yeah.
It's constant. It was Taylor Swift, right? I mean, that was a long time ago. Now we have this. So the most recent one is what? Wife wears a naked dress, and then there's talks of a separation now.
Yeah, I mean, she wore the naked dress, and in Texas we say naked, not naked. Like y'all do in California. Naked dress. Naked. Yeah, I mean, I was watching that on the red carpet, and here she comes in her beautiful coat, and then all of a sudden he whispers something at her, and she drops the coat like a robot. And I mean, and I'm a divorce lawyer, right? I'm pretty jaded and cynical, and he whispers, and then she drops the coat, and it's like, what, whoa. I'm sorry, you or I dress like that out in public, we getting arrested. And I mean, first of all, nobody wants to see all that from me. I don't know about you. Maybe you got some washboard abs or something really fun to see, but nobody wants to see that.
Who told you about the washboard abs?
but I mean, she was very lovely. I mean, her body was lovely and worth seeing. But I mean, you or I or anybody else in the world goes out there and drops their coat and has on a naked dress that looks like pantyhose. I mean, do people even know what pantyhose are anymore? Am I
Not
showing
anymore,
my
I don't think so. I know what you're talking about.
Got on a pantyhose dress, right?
Yeah.
And anybody else is getting arrested. I mean, down to showing you hoo-ha. So, I mean, they showed her hoo. Now on TV, it blurted out, but I mean, we're showing her hoo-ha.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're getting arrested for that. And so as a divorce lawyer, I'm sitting there going wait a minute, there is something really wrong in this situation. And so the next day he came out and on some media reported, that he said that he has this is the quote, complete dominion over his wife. Family lawyer, I'm like, dominion. Okay. That's a word. That's a word. And then, the next day or two, it was she's going to consult a divorce lawyer. And then a few days later, it's oh, we're getting back together. And, we're going to try to reconcile. And so, me, I'm like, are we trying to reconcile or is he silencing her again? Because the reports of her being silenced and not being allowed to speak in his presence, those reports are widely reported in the media. And so I'm sitting here going as a woman, as a lawyer who represents women, I'm going do we need to call somebody, honey? Do we need to call the police to come help you leave? Do we need to call your daddy to come beat his ass and help you get out of there? Who do we need to call to help you leave? Because what I'm seeing is psychological abuse. I mean, I don't know the guy. I'm not accusing him of it. I don't know anything. I haven't been there. But it's just these signs are just, I'm just so concerned about her.
What it sounds like from what you're saying, obviously the quote of "I have complete dominion over my wife." That's an abusive statement, right?
Yeah,
that means
it could
you feel
be.
you
Yeah.
own her, right? Is that what that
Right.
really means?
Right.
And then also the whispering in the ear, "Do this now, do this now," right? Is kind of how I'm interpreting it, and to me, it's just like, what do you think is really going on when you say silencing her? Like, I don't understand this, right? There's another topic we'll get to in a little bit. That has been, widely talked about by silencing, right? It's like, I guess I just don't understand that world, right? It's like, what does that actually mean, and how can it actually happen?
I don't know. I mean, nobody's ever been really successful at silencing me.
There you go.
I mean, in a lot of instances, people would have wanted to silence me, but nobody's been very successful at it. So I have zero understanding of that concept. But it is definitely, when you look at the signs and symptoms of the emotional control or emotional abuse or psychological abuse, I mean, that's definitely one of them. And when you look at the reports in the media that have been reported about their relationship, where people are reporting that she's not allowed to speak in his presence and she's not allowed to speak out in public. And she's never, as far as I've been able to find, never done a media interview. And certainly not since all this has broken. She's never, spoken to anybody about what's happened in the last week or two. And if she were acting under her own free will, like, why doesn't she go talk to, to somebody on one of the news channels and give a little interview and say, I'm fine, I'm good.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it. I wanted a publicity stunt of my entire lovely body because I like the way I look and I want women to see my body confidence or something. I mean, but she's not doing that. And when you add to that, Kim Kardashian actually spoke out the other day. There's a media report of that where she talked about some of the control of her and now nobody ever accused Kim Kardashian of being silenced either, but there were some similarities in what she said to what's kind of happening now that it's just very concerning. At a minimum, it's odd.
Yeah.
And weird. And at a maximum, I mean, it's very concerning.
Now, so when you were talking about Kim Kardashian, were you hinting around the fact that there was moments where Kim was also controlled or potentially controlled by Kanye West?
I mean, I think she's kind of said that. And then there's been some discussion even after the divorce where he has attempted to exercise some coercive control of her over their co-parenting and hiring private investigators and, following her around and stuff like that. Now, I don't know that he's been that successful with her because certainly between her wealth and her security team and, she has ability to get out from under any control that he would attempt to exercise. And her family unit, she has some different abilities. Where this other gal, Bianca, she doesn't seem to have that same support system that Kim Kardashian has. And I think, when generally when there are people and we can be sexist about it, but it's not always men, but when men are in this position where they're controlling of women like this, they tend to prey on women who don't have that support system, who don't have a daddy or a brother who are going to go beat their ass if they treat, this woman wrongly, and who don't have, the wealth or the means to get out from under it. And so I don't know these people. I don't know what's going on. I sure wish that we did know a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes because it's very strange and very concerning. And I sure wish I could get her in with a lawyer. I know a few in LA that are really, really good. So I'd love to get her in with one to see what actually is going on.
No, there's a massive difference between Bianca and Kim Kardashian, right? To your point, right? Just from like a family standpoint, Kim's unit, everybody's together. I'm not saying Bianca's is not. I don't know about her family. Just the Kardashians are public eye, right? You see everybody involved, right? But the big thing is, I think, financially, right? Kim has fuck you money. Like, you can't control her, right?
That's right.
The family has fuck you money, correct? Like you're not gonna get the same result. She's gonna be like, yeah, okay, dude, try it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Fuck off.
I think more people like me than they like you, dude. Right?
Yeah.
But for this girl, it's concerning, right? Because she may not have that financial stability like a Kardashian has.
I think the media has reported, that it appears that she doesn't, because when they first started reporting the possibility of divorce, they were talking about the fact that it appears that they don't have a premarital agreement. And California is a community property state, which the media reported, I don't necessarily agree with their conclusion, but the media reported that under some scenario, because he is apparently greatly in debt and has very little in assets left. I don't know this, but this is what this report said, that he had a lot of debt, and that if they got divorced under the community property scheme without a premarital agreement, that she could get sacked with a bunch of his debt instead of getting any assets. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think there'd be a lot of factors, like, was the debt incurred, before the marriage, or because he was a schmuck, or because of some wrongdoing. And there's a fairness element to that a judge would look at in California. So, I'm not a California lawyer, but I know enough to know that there would be a fairness element, and the judge would have discretion not to sack her with all the debt also. So I don't think that's a realistic assessment of what would happen to her in that scenario. But certainly the report to me says that she doesn't have her own source of funding to get her out of it.
Dude, so what do you think? Like, what do you think's going on, right? Because we have reports stating that they are not moving forward. They are rumors. Yeah. We're staying together. We're looking to work it out. Like, yes, like, what does that look like, though? I mean, you're a family law attorney. You've seen this many times play out, right? Like, where does this go from here? Like, where do you think it goes?
Yeah, I'm as much of a media conspiracy theorist as anybody. So it could just be that the media found something salacious to report about because she wore this naked dress that was a bad attempt at getting, some media attention where there wasn't any. And so it could be that it was a stunt and everybody's happy at home and the media is blowing some things out of proportion. Or it could be that, that there's really something to be concerned about, and that, that Kanye is exercising his dominion. And, when women are under this control, this trauma bond or this manipulation, maybe he has manipulated her back into the fold and through money or some sort of psychological control. And she's now kind of brought back in the fold and is either through physical manipulation or monetary manipulation. She's just not able to get out and go see the lawyer she wanted to go see. So I don't know. I hope that if that's the case, that she's got somebody somewhere that cares enough about her to help her, go get her nails done and then get to a women's shelter or something and get out. But, but if everything's fine and she's happy and everything's happy there, then go be happy and the media needs to leave them alone. But I don't think anybody knows the truth except those on the inside of that situation. And I guess at the end of the day, we can just send her good vibes or prayers or whatever works for you and hope that she's okay.
Great points, right? We don't know. Like, we don't live there. It's not for us to judge. We can only assume and kind of put the storyline together. And it's, it's entertainment, right, as well. But here's my thought. What if it was just a fucking stunt? Yeah. What if it was staged?
Well, that's what they reported yesterday. Kanye came out with a statement, or his publicist did, that said that there was some sexual something lawsuit against him by somebody, and they did it as a stunt to take away attention from that lawsuit.
I'll never understand it.
Yeah, maybe.
Wouldn't it bring more light to it? Like, here he goes again. Look,
I think it's a bad stunt.
It ain't a good one, but neither was a Super Bowl link.
Yeah. Yeah.
one t-shirt,
Yeah.
a swastika on it. Like,
yeah,
let's
exactly.
get real. That's, also too, shame on the TV rights. Shame on the Super Bowl. Like, how do you not proofread or look at what that link's going to pull up when you put it on the TV?
Yeah. I think there's so many things that, kind of go into this. And, I hope that, I guess I kind of hope it was a stunt. I mean, like I said, we started this conversation with me saying that I think that sometimes celebrities, when they start losing their celebrity status, start doing desperate things to get that limelight back on them, especially if they've lost their money. And I wonder if that's kind of where he's at. Like, he's trying to get some fame or infamy back, and trying to find a way to get some sort of contract or, something back to earn some money. And I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what he's doing.
I wonder how many streams of Kanye West on Spotify or Apple Music or any Pandora or any type of platform has taken place since the Super Bowl and since this has gone out.
I imagine a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. We were talking offline about the Diddy trial. I mean, there's also some.
Here we go.
Parallels.
Sorry. Here we
there's
fucking
some parallels. There's some allegations of parallels between Kanye and Diddy too, and so I'm wondering if there's going to be some, some parallels that come out in the Diddy trial with Kanye too. I mean, maybe that'll be his next claim to fame. I don't know.
Oof,
I don't know.
Okay, let's spill the tea here. So 2 months before that trial, the Diddy trial.
Yeah, 2 months. 2 months. May 5th, something like that.
Shit, man, that's my grandma, like my late grandma's birthday. Can they come up with a different date? Shit.
I know, right? I just hope they televise like at least some portions of it. And I mean, I do hope they come up with a way to protect the victims, because certainly the victims don't deserve all the publicity that's going to surround this thing. But I mean, the publicity is going to be what it's going to be, whether they televise it or not. But I have to confess, as a lawyer, just from the pure legal drama of it, I don't know that there's been, certainly the Johnny Depp trial was legal drama. I go all the way back to the OJ trial. I mean, this is the trial of the modern era. So I'm looking forward to the Diddy trial. I'm ready for it to start. I'm ready to watch the lawyering and see what goes on.
I'm very interested in this, obviously, because you see you hear people talking, and there was people on social media for years warning everybody about this, right? How this was all going to all come out. And then, then it did. And then there's all of a sudden these videos of Diddy literally beating the shit out of his girlfriend. Was it Ciara on film, film. And it's just like, damn. And there's documentaries out already. Everything came so quickly with this, with P. Diddy, and just everything, like all the platforms like Hulu and Max, like they have all these different, the fall of P. Diddy. Like it's a lot to take in.
Yeah. I think that may be the problem, like me being a lawyer, that may be the problem with the trial, is that there's just so much. I read that the prosecutor expects their case to take 2 weeks, and then the defense expects to take a week. Now, in the grand scheme of lawyering, that's actually not that long of a trial for as much stuff as we think they have. So how are they going to fit that all in? Like, I don't know. I mean, I like I said, from just the pure legal drama of it, I can't wait for it to start, and I hope they televise it.
No, I agree. I mean, like, listen, you and I were talking, before we hit record it, going back all the way to the OJ trial. I mean, you were in law school. I was younger too. I remember the day I was going to a baseball game that I was playing at, and this reports came out that OJ allegedly killed his ex-wife and, her friend. And I'm like, There's no way. Like this is wild. I remember I was going to Brentwood, California to play a summer baseball game. And this thing exploded, and you couldn't help but be in front of the TV and watching it.
Yeah.
Like, to see a public figure like that be reduced to the most simplest, you are just a normal human being.
Right.
You're going through this.
The chase. I mean, I don't know if you remember the chase and
I remember it. I remember the chase.
Bronco. And at the time, I was a country girl. I mean, here in Texas, and a Bronco was like my dream car. And there he is, like driving in my dream car, like chasing off, and
You've never got a Bronco, did you?
Well, I got one of the new ones, but then I didn't like it, so
is it white?
Got rid of it. No, I got a red one. Okay, my red, good. My color.
See, look at that. I love that. I love that for you. You got rid of it?
Yeah, I didn't like it after I got it. Yeah. It was too big for me. It was too big.
So I know how someone like myself would view these trials, the P. Diddy thing. For me, I'm just going to be honest, like,
entertainment.
Yeah, but then also like, yo, dude, if this is all true, I hope you fucking pay for it. Like, I don't want this, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit type bullshit. I mean, we talked about that too, like, no, if you did all this, man, and you're guilty, you need to pay for it, man, because there's all these people's lives that have been impacted over the years that don't have regular relationships with men, that don't have regular relationships with people, or even careers because they've been impacted by this trauma. And all the while, how much of empowerment does that take away from a woman to deal with that?
Or the men. And, I mean, there are
because
victims.
How about the video surfacing of Justin Bieber in the club? Like, the insinuation of what he allegedly was made to do in a club
as a child, as a minor, as a child.
It's like, okay, so then it begs the question of like, okay, so this guy really does have this much pull in that industry that he can say yes or no on an individual as an artist to whether they're going to blow up and have a great career or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And so from the lawyer perspective, I mean, what we hope from our justice system is that the justice system is designed for prosecutors to do their job and defense lawyers to do their job. I was a defense lawyer whenever I first started out my legal career. I represented people who were accused of crimes. And the goal of a defense lawyer, as much as the general public thinks that it is so distasteful and difficult to represent people who are accused of and maybe guilty of crimes, the goal for a defense lawyer is that we really represent the Constitution, that the lawyer represents the idea that as a person accused of a crime under our Constitution, you are entitled to a defense. And you're entitled to a lawyer to give you your best day in court to oppose the wheels of justice just ramrodding the crap over you. And so, as a criminal defense lawyer, like we genuinely, and I say that as I don't do it anymore, but I did at one time, like criminal defense lawyers approach it from the standpoint of, we take the Constitution very, very seriously. And I know prosecutors do too. I'm not diminishing that. I'm just saying that, that's the perspective of a criminal defense lawyer. It is to present the defendant's defenses, to make sure that their voice gets heard, because the system is designed against them, even though it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. But our natural tendencies as humans is, when you first hear an allegation and you go, ew, like, you have a tendency to believe it, but we have standards of evidence and standards of proof. And so the defense lawyer's job is to make the prosecutor jump that high. Beyond a reasonable doubt is the standard that criminals are entitled to have the proof. And that means 99%. Okay. In family law, by comparison, we only have to prove preponderance of the evidence, which is 51% or 50.1%. So it's just that smidgen of proof. But beyond a reasonable doubt is like, I'm almost at 100% sure that this happened, right? And so a criminal defense lawyer's job is to make the prosecutors jump this high, not this high, not this high, not this high, not this high, but this high. And if there's defenses that excuse this, that bring it down to this, like defense of a third party or, whatever, some defense that the law allows, the defense lawyer's job is to present the evidence of that. And that comes from our Constitution. And without our Constitution, we don't have a civil society. So you hope that the prosecutors do their job and the defense, or I hope as a lawyer, that everybody does a good job and tries a clean trial. And at the end of it, the jury holds everybody to doing their job and evaluates just what evidence is presented in the courtroom, not all the crap, the circus that's going on outside, and bases it on what happens in a clean trial in the courtroom based on the rules of evidence and the Constitution and the, standards of proof, and that it happens very cleanly. Now, being, a little bit cynical, that's not always how it happens. Like we talked about the OJ trial before we went on air, the famous OJ thing, Johnny Cochran gets up there and in his closing argument has the glove and he says, and he's trying to put the glove on and it doesn't fit. And he says, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. And like I said to you before we went on air, sometimes it's not the evidence. Sometimes it's not the best. Sometimes it's the best salesperson.
Yeah.
And so that art of persuasion by lawyers is so important in a jury trial because the way that we craft our message, it's not any different than being a car salesman or a salesman in any other standpoint. Like salespeople get so much training in how to persuade the person they're selling to buy what they're selling. And lawyers are the same thing. We just sell a different product.
You're selling different product to a different subset, which is the jury, right?
Yeah, and we train as trial lawyers in sales tactics too.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. Like the reality is, like all those things are obviously true, right? Upholding the Constitution, that's your fiduciary responsibility. But you guys are also human, right? And so it's like, when I look at this, I admire you guys. I admire attorneys, even in family law. There's going to come a day where a family law attorney is representing a male or female that they know is in the wrong, and they have to give them their best day in court. And it could conflict with their moral or core beliefs, right? Like, this person potentially could be bad. So I just admire you guys for being able to, I guess, filter that information and be like, okay, the defense attorney for OJ, right? The defense attorney for P. Diddy, right? And all those kinds of things, like to be able to flush that and do the job and trying to prove, right? Or not prove innocence, but, bring down the, guilty by any stretch of the imagination, right? But beyond a reasonable doubt. Like, to me, that's intense.
I mean, it is intense and it is a tough job, but it is an important one. And everybody can criticize lawyers. I mean, the general public criticizes lawyers about that part of our jobs until they need one.
Exactly.
And, and so it is a very important part of our job. And as lawyers, I mean, we each have to decide on any given case, are we capable of advocating for, or I call it sometimes gladiating, but
sure,
advocating for that client's position in a way that we are comfortable with. And, and really the way I look at it is that my personal belief system gets checked at the door. My personal belief system has nothing, or maybe I should say very little, to do with the job that I do when I enter the courtroom. You know, I do have boundaries. I do not represent or take cases that involve sex abuse of children. That's just not a topic that I want to handle on a day in, day out basis.
It's too much.
Well, whether you did it or you didn't, whether I believe in you or I didn't, it's just not a topic that I want to spend my day in the middle of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's been my policy for my entire career as representing criminal defendants, representing family law cases. Like, if that's an issue in the case, somebody else needs to handle it, because that's not my case. That's not a case for me. Okay. But mostly other issues, within reason, it's not up to me to decide. And the way that I look at it, representing a client, my job is to present their perspective, not my perspective, my ego, my viewpoint, my personal moral standards, whether I would get a divorce based on these facts or not, whether that would be my choice or not. That's not up to me. That's not my life. It's their life, and it's their story to tell. And I am a vehicle through which their story gets told. And the way that I look at it is that I go in and I am the vehicle that tells their story, and there's somebody that's telling a different story on the other side, and the judge is the one that makes the decision, or a jury. And I basically, before, this is maybe telling you a little more about me than we intended, but I go in before I go in a trial or whatever, and I pray to God and I say, help me do my job and advocate for my client to the best of my ability and present their side of things in the best light that I can, and help the judge make the decision. The decision that you, God, would have made, not me.
Love it.
And so it's not in my hands. It's in God's hands,
Yeah.
It's in the judge's hands, and God working through the judge. So that's my viewpoint.
There's so much to unpack there. Like, and the thing that I can say, what I enjoyed mostly was just hearing the real life process that you go through, right? These attorneys go through when they're deciding to take a case, right? Because you have certain topics, like you said, any type of sexual abuse of a child you won't take. But on the outside of those things, you do have the opportunity to entertain the facts as they are presented. And if it's something that you want to take on, right? And I think that's what Joe Public doesn't understand, right? That they don't understand the fact that, like, well, how could you represent so-and-so? Like, how could you do that knowing they're guilty? Well, because right now, P. Diddy and anything Kanye does, they're going to be guilty in the public eye right away. They already are. Like, literally, the public has already decided the fate of P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh yeah. Like, it's even a verb now. Don't Diddy me. Nice try, Diddy.
Well, and I mean, and the media is so much a part of that, because they believe, they are swayed by the way that the, shall we say, salesman of the day, whatever media outlet they're listening to, presents it. And it's not any different than political person of the day, political topic of the day, media circus of the day, whoever is in the cancel culture snare of the day. It's the same problem, and it's the criticism of the media under the current standards, and the media very much talks about that, that problem. The media sways the public opinion, and the public isn't parsing those problems of how the media is presenting it.
Yeah, it's listen, it's hard. The public should really understand the media's job. I don't think anybody at this point trusts mainstream media, right? I think everybody has a hard time doing that, right?
I don't know,
but it's their job to bring the sizzle.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's not like years ago when you had the 6 o'clock news with Walter Cronkite, who you basically trusted to give you a fair assessment of what happened today. The media's job is not any different than any influencer who is paid to tell you about, the shoes that they're wearing. They're fucking getting paid to tell you this.
Come on.
Like, that's the bottom line. The media is getting fucking paid to get you to view their media station 24/7 and give them views. They get paid for that. That's how they make money. We don't have advertising anymore.
Yep.
And so, like, they're not any different than Joe Blow influencer, anything else, like TikTok of the day, getting 1 million views. I mean,
right.
The media these days is just paid hacks. And I mean, you have some that are more authentic and credible than others. Thank goodness. But for the most part, like, how does the media, you've always got to track the money. Like, another life lesson, always track the money. Yeah. And in the media, like, it used to be that Walter Cronkite, you couldn't track the money because Walter Cronkite got his, most people don't even know who Walter Cronkite is.
I know who he is.
Before my time too. But, like, he got paid his salary and he had ethics and he just reported the news. But now, like, you got to track the money and who's getting a bonus on their views and who's making influencer money based on their TikTok reels because they reported some salacious details.
Well, the big thing there, what we're talking about here is the emergence of social media, which is another one of your expertises, right? It's like, wait a second here. Before it was just the news and we were going for ratings, like, and that was it, right? If people watch
revenue, which was a whole different separate section and a whole different floor of NBC or CBS or whatever, totally separate. We don't talk to each other.
Yeah. Now it's views on TikTok, social media, right? It's brought another level of dramatizing drama to these stories, these storylines, because every station is going to tell their slant on the story.
That's right. And it's all about adjectives. Like, let's go back to grammar school. It's all about adjectives. Like, you use the salacious adjectives. And what's the difference in this little adjective and that adjective?
Yeah.
Like, one might mean he's a slimy piece of crap, and one might mean, oh, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
Based on adjectives. It's terrible.
It's so funny because, like, when I was talking about slants, I was thinking they're going to go off their slant, and it's usually the most salacious one. And then you said the word, right? That's really what it is. Like, it's the hook. We live in the world of the hook right now.
The hook.
How can we hook the reader? How can we hook the viewer? How can we do that?
That's right.
How can we do that? We do it here. We have to hook the audience.
I think that all changed. That all changed, in my view, in the crash of 2008, when everything changed, because the consumer's viewpoint of marketing changed in the crash of 2008. When you study marketing and you look back at it, that's really when there was this shift, a tectonic shift in consumers' view of the authority figure of marketing, of advertising, commercials, who do we rely on to tell us that a product is worthy, versus, do we rely on our neighbor next door? Do we rely on some Joe Blow just like us to tell us a product is worthy? And that shift that started, to me, around the crash of 2008 is when that really shifted. And since then, you see that in the growth of the internet, in blogging, which is where it first started, and blogging turned to YouTube, and then YouTube turned to this, and then we turned to social media, and then it's grown and grown and grown. And that's, when we started to go from, advertising and traditional television to YouTube and blogging, traditional typed blogging, that's where it kind of switched. And everybody started getting their websites. And that's when that switch started happening, and it started going downhill. And now we don't have newspapers anymore. We don't have really, we still have traditional TV, but does anybody really watch it?
No.
And we don't have news. We still have, they still have the 6 o'clock news, but does anybody watch it? And most people, I guess, the stats are, that everybody's watching Fox now, Fox News, National, and nobody's watching CNN anymore or something. I don't know. That's a big shift in the last years. But, and now everybody's basically getting their news. A couple of years ago, everybody got their news off of Facebook and YouTube, and now it's basically TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that in podcasts, right? Because they're typically podcast clips, right?
Well, and it depends on your demographic, right? But podcasts, 100%.
Yeah.
And we saw that in the election, not to get political, but we sure saw that in the election. And nobody, except a handful of people on one side, nobody understood that. Yep. I mean, that was a blind side to a whole lot of people that are blind to where people are getting their news from. And that is, you gotta understand. This is another thing I learned from my daddy about business. Like, you gotta understand where your customer journey comes from. And in politics, your customer journey is voters, right? Mm-hmm. And so you've got to understand your customer journey. And that was, for Trump, for example, talking to Barron and understanding this customer journey of where I can find some new voters, man, brilliant. I think that will go down as, where a few years before, Obama going to the late night shows and kind of going on some social media, that was a shift in political maneuvering that helped Obama get elected, like that rock star thing that Obama did that helped him get elected. The Barron Trump factor in podcasts is going to go down. They are going to study that in political science for years.
Yeah.
Genius.
I mean, he went on Rogan too. That's like, and I think, and not to get political, like you said, but like Harris, she went on Shannon Sharp's show and declined to go on Rogan.
I think two things. I look at politics, again, setting aside my personal views. Like, I look at politics like a tennis match. Like, I enjoy the match of it, right? Yeah. And so, so for me, I think Harris missed the mark on two things. Number one, I think that she completely missed the mark on where her customer journey was coming from. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And she was hyper focused on one particular demographic of her customer journey, and not on the broad brush of what she needed to fully get elected.
Agreed.
And number two, I think she missed the mark on what she needed to exhibit as a woman in leadership. Yeah. And that may be a whole topic we could discuss another day, but I think, she really didn't exhibit what I would want to see as a female leader in power. Her word choices, to me, like her full presentation.
Her presence just, to me, was just not, it was lacking. I'm sorry. It was lacking. Mm-hmm. Like, the leader of the free world. Like, I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but everybody's saying like, oh, you're not ready for a woman president. Yeah, I am. 1,000,000,000%.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. No,
like, come on.
I think our country is ready for a woman leader president. And sure. I think that by and large, most of our country would tell you that women, and I'll even take it a step further. I think our country would even agree with the statement that we would trust a mom to lead our country more than we would trust anybody else. Moms lead their families. They manage to get their kids to school. They carry their families on their backs, and then they still go to work, and then they still do the dishes, and they still do the laundry, and they still do everything. And moms are where it's at. And I bet you that most of our country would think a mom that's also a leader could do all of it.
I don't disagree.
The right leader qualities.
No.
But the problem is we just haven't found one of those yet that can balance being authentic and real and smart and all the qualities that we want to see in that. We have Hillary Clinton, who was a little over on the smart and aggressive category, or assertive, sure. If you want to use the right word, smart and assertive category. And I love that she wore the pantsuits, and then there's some other women leaders. I think Nikki Haley was great and I love her, but I think she was maybe a little bit too soft in her presentation of, how she was so smart and is so smart. And she was a little bit more moderate in kind of this juggling of all the issues of the world. but I don't think she really kind of was able to overcome this Trump factor versus the other issues of the liberal side of things and get her message out there. She had a problem getting her message across. And then, Ms. Harris was just unable to overcome this far liberal wing of the messaging, and she missed the mark on where the country was at.
I agree.
And I just don't think we found the right woman yet.
No, we haven't. And that's why America spoke what they spoke, right? It's really sad. And it's almost victim mentality to hear like, we're just not ready for a woman president. That's not true.
No, I think we
it's
are.
It's not true at all. I think America is ready and willing and wanting that.
But I also think, not to go back to our social media topic, but
sure.
I also think like, who in the world is crazy enough to want to dive into politics? Like, I almost think that anybody who would make a good candidate, is like, oh, hell the fuck no. Like, I would not subject my family to that. I would not subject myself to that. No. I mean, who wants to be in the middle of that?
Dude,
I don't want to be in the middle of that. I mean, no.
They'd have a dope ass house for a little while, though.
Well, I mean, you can make a lot more money and have a dope ass house anywhere.
No shit. No shit.
I mean, who wants to be subject to a 24/7 media cycle and everybody misrepresenting your words and spinning the fuck out of you? And, and what do they call it when they call up the police and say shit's going down at your house? What's the word for that? And then the police descend on you and nothing's happening. And anyway, whatever they did it. Yeah, swatting your house like they did it to Nikki Haley's parents a few times. Like, I mean, who wants that? And who wants your family and friends to be? Nobody wants that. And the death threats and who wants to be in the middle of politics? It's gotten to be so nasty.
Dude, that shit would be wild. I don't even think that doesn't even sound appealing to me whatsoever.
No. And so anybody who would make a good president or who has the qualifications, like, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks.
No thanks.
You keep the death threats. You keep all the bullshit. I'm going to live a normal life.
Bullshit. I'm good. I'm good with my JOB.
The impact on the family is just so tremendous. It's just too much. But, well, look here. This was amazing. We talked some good stuff, man. We talked some really good stuff.
We didn't even get to all of the topics we had on tap.
We didn't. You will have to have you back. But I want it to be in person.
Oh, ooh. Yes. When I'm in Florida?
Or when I come to Texas, we'll figure something out.
There you go.
We'll figure something out. Hey, you know what we'll do? You know what we'll do? We'll get Valerie on it.
Yeah, no, Valerie can get on it. I've got a studio in Texas we can do when you're in Dallas, or I come to Miami pretty often. Where are you at?
We're in Naples, but Miami is like down the road. So if you're in Miami, we'll get it worked out. That's easy.
I come to Miami several times a year, so we can do that too. But I've got a studio right down the street in Dallas that we can hook up and hit record. So
I would love that. That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. We'll do it again for sure. We'll do it again in person for certain. But no, thank you so much. We've never talked about the certain topics, so my audience is like, what's going on? Because I'm broadening my topics and in my range here, what we're talking about on the show. And these types of things is what's in the news cycle. People are talking about it and wanting to know about it. So thank you for stretching me today, because for real, it was different than anything we've ever done, and it was fun.
Hey, I'm all about it. Anytime.
Yes. So where can my audience check you out? You do speaking engagements. Do you have you have 2 books? Let's direct everybody.
Yeah, so I have a book about social media ethics for lawyers. So most people wouldn't be very interested in that. And then I have a book, Wisdom from Mama, that talks about the life lessons that I've learned from my mama. Both are available on Amazon. I am the Michelle O'Neill on all social media platforms. So you can find me there. MichelleO'Neill.com is my website. And then if you need a lawyer in Texas for some family law, my law firm website is owlawyers.com. So don't email me at my personal websites about lawyer stuff, because I'll just send you over to the lawyer website. But if you want to follow me on Yeah, I'll bill you a lot. But if you want to follow me on social media, it's the Michelle O'Neill on all the platforms.
I love it. Michelle, thank you so much. I look forward to continuing the relationship and the new friendship. And it won't be the last that we have conversations. I can tell you that. I dig you. You're amazing. And there's a lot we could do together. So now for the audience that had just listened or watched this show, I want you to share the episode with somebody that you know, love, and trust that needs to hear this or that is interested in some of the topics that we spoke about. Or if you're in Texas and shamelessly, if you're going through something that you need some, family law advice, do not hesitate to look her up and, schedule a consultation. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, your viewership and your loyalty is always appreciated. Until next time, stay determined.
Shawn French, what up? This one luck, I let the pain inspire me. I put my all in everything I'm doing. Up until it's done, I'm me for the entirety. I put it in overtime, I be working. Just know I'ma go for mine, cause I earned it. They watching, I know it's time, I confirmed it. A whole society determined to show.